All right, Ryan. So, couple of closing thoughts that I want your take on for Oregon basketball before we get to where the Ducks go next season, because I think they have to be really active in the portal. There was an idea suggested during the broadcast, and I believe this has been pitched to Dana Altman before. Was kind of the indication the announcing crew gave. The idea that Oregon and Arizona should play every year is something I'm totally open to because quality non-conference games where you don't have to travel across the country, I think that's a beneficial element. And if not, only because the late Bill Walton, RIP, would really love to see Oregon and Arizona keep playing. I think if you have an opportunity to play a quality non-conference opponent every year, you do it. Oregon got their highest seed in the NCAA tournament since the year they went to the Final Four. They did that by having good opponents and going out and beating them. Arizona is going to be a quad one game every single year. So I heard that get suggested and thought to myself, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like that. I was just up in Seattle for those games, and it was a tough loss against Arizona, of course. And Arizona is such a good team, and they got such a good program. They filled up that freaking stadium. I mean, here we are, a couple hours from Portland, and there's more Arizona fans and Duck fans in that building. It says all you need to know about what they like about their program, and I love that. I talked with many Arizona fans over the weekend talking about how much I hated the breakup of the Pac-12 because I love the matchup against UCLA and Arizona. They're two games that I tried to never miss. I had season tickets for years for Oregon basketball, and I always tried to go to those games because those games felt different. No offense to Stanford or Cal or anybody else out here, but when we played Arizona, it mattered. And I would love to see that. I hadn't heard that. I didn't hear the broadcast. I was at the game, but the idea of us getting a non-conference is huge, and you're completely right. The way that they started this year with winning that NIL tournament in Vegas, to having a variety of different quality quad one wins, that set them up. And when they had their lull in the regular season, when they had those 5 straight, everybody was saying they're fine. They're not going to be a bubble team because of what they did early in the year. And so I agree. I think that the more tougher non-conference games you can schedule, the better. And the more West Coast you can schedule, the better. There's not much out here. And if you look around, there's not much out here. I guess Colorado State might be one in the future, but they played pretty well over the weekend. But Arizona is a blockbuster team every single year. They've got a great program. They have not only do they have great talent coming through, and they have some of the best recruits. They get some of the best transfer portal guys, and they get some of the best European and international guys. They are a team that is consistently putting out NBA players, and so I think the Ducks should definitely try to match that up. And the Ducks usually play well against them. I've seen numerous games in Vegas where the Ducks beat Arizona in some of the best games of the whole year. Obviously, the game at Seattle the other day stung, but it was to a good team. And you're going to lose to Arizona, and it's going to be close, then that's fine. You just don't want to get blown out. And so I think that you play a team like Arizona early in the year, and even if you don't win the game and get that quad one win, you're still looking at saying, hey, you're still testing yourself against a team that's basically a Sweet 16 team every single year in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and I don't know that I see it the same way about, it's fine then because they lost close. Oregon had so many chances to win that game, Ryan. They missed 10 free throws. They
Yeah, I know. It's
just
brutal.
got out physical. I mean, you were there in person, and what I saw on TV was Oregon got out physical, and yep, they were on the wrong end of calls in the first half. It did balance out, I think, pretty much in the second half, but I just think that Oregon failed to set the tone for defense and rebounding the way that they needed to match what Arizona was bringing to the table. And then at the end of the game, they still had a chance because that's what we've seen from this team all season long. They gave themselves chances. But now going into next year, this is going to be a very, very different roster. So your take on just kind of where Oregon basketball goes from there.
Yeah, that's a good take. I think that they got out physical in the second three or the second, third, and fourth quarter. At the first quarter, they jumped out to that big lead. They felt like they didn't put the foot on their neck enough, and they weren't physical when they started to make that transition. When I don't know 8-10-0 run, it felt like. Oregon next year is going to be in a transition. I don't know what we're going to see with Nate. I had a really good conversation with him and his family after the game. I've become pretty good buddies with his dad, Ryan. Different spelling, by the way, but just classic family, classic Oregon family. And, Nate's one of those guys who's going to get that test back from the NBA. And if he gets a go on it, he'll probably go. But if he doesn't
I think he comes back.
But if he doesn't get the ratings he wants, he's back. It's already guaranteed that he's back. He's enrolled in classes. Everything's dialed in for him to come back. It's just about whether the NBA grade comes back or not. The NBA grade is interesting to me because he does shoot the ball well from deep. And that's kind of the difference between if you look at like him comparatively to N'Faly Dante last year. N'Faly had no jump shot. And, he was a physical freak and he had great size and strength. But Nate's a classic 7-footer that can shoot the ball. And NBA players or NBA teams are looking for that. So there are certain things that Nate can provide, I think, for an NBA team right now. But no, another year with Nate would be awesome. I think Jackson's going to go all 4 years. I don't think he leaves early unless he has an absolute bonkers year next year. I think the NIL money is too good for him. Everything else is set up for him. I think Peyton's in his ear. Peyton was a 4-year guy. It benefits everybody, I think. And I think that there's going to be some good looks at transfers. Dana always brings in transfers, right? The transfer portal's open right now. Guys are going to leave. Guys are going to come in. That happens every year. But I think that the Ducks are in a really prime spot right now. I feel like they've proven themselves in the Big Ten. They're top probably 5 to 6 team in the Big Ten, and that's going to put you in a good spot in the NCAA tournament most years. I feel like the Big Ten gets a lot more credit than the Pac-12 ever did for basketball, and the Ducks are in a really good spot. They're going to play quality opponents. They're going to get plenty of quad one opportunities, and if they cash them in, like you said earlier, they're going to be in the tournament every year. So I think that Dana's fine. I feel like the program's good, but there is an issue when coaches are at the end of their tenure, and you're not going to get another 20 years from Dana. I don't know how many years you're going to have left with them, but it can get a little wild at the very end, and sometimes you can have really highs of highs and lows of lows. This year was a high. I felt like this year was an absolute success. I know that people were kind of talking mess about Dana early or when they had that 5-game lull, but I felt like this was a huge success this year. I am disappointed that guys are leaving because we've had so much hype for some of those guys. But at the end of the day, Dana's program is in a solid space. The Ducks are fine. And I feel like going forward, they're going to be just right back at it. It'll be in the NCAA again next year.
Well, Mookie Cook announced he is going to transfer out of Oregon. And, as we're recording this show, we're still waiting to hear on Biddle. I'm not that concerned about Shellstad. I think he could make the NBA one day. He's super athletic, but he's not super big. So I don't know that he's, lined up to be a first-round NBA draft selection at this point in time. And I like hearing that Peyton Pritchard's in his ear because Pritchard, I think, really benefited from staying for all 4 years. And it sucks that his senior season got robbed from him. And it really sucks that the women had Sabrina's senior season robbed because they would have won the national championship. I will die on that hill forever, and no one really can push back aggressively. But when I look at where Oregon's roster is just kind of at, Ryan, real quick to wrap today's show, we could be looking at 5 or more transfers that come in because you're losing, Mookie Cook's in the portal. I hope to keep KJ Evans around as well. But you lose Brandon Angel, you lose TJ Bamba, you have no more Keyshawn Bartholomew. You do have Bam Tracy and Jamari Phillips back, but you have no more Supreme Cook. You don't have Raheem Moss. I mean, I don't think it's crazy, given that Oregon brought in one high school recruit in the class of 2025, to say they're going to go out and add at least 4 guys in the portal.
Oh yeah, no, it's the time, and it was sad to see Mookie go. Mookie's a guy who I've known for years in Portland, and I love that guy. I mean, I'm seriously, I love that guy and that family, and I was disappointed that he just didn't get the minutes this year. I really thought Dana was going to be able to have some creative offense and creative defensive matchups. His offensive game never really matched his potential of the defensive opportunities.
Yeah,
but
I think that was the disconnect because we saw how good he is defensively. He's elite, but offensively never felt like he was able to bring something to the table.
Yeah, and just in Dana's system, it feels like, over time, they've really pushed for the extra pass. And, there were a lot of times, if you go back in time to the Joe Young era, there was really no push to the extra pass. That guy was taking the shot. And so you've gone to kind of a mode where now you've gone to the extra pass where they find themselves oftentimes late in shot clocks, trying to get up a tough shot. When they get into those offensive lulls during the game where they go 3, 4, 5 minutes without scoring, it usually is because they're trying too hard to get a better look instead of taking what's available. And it feels like Mookie was more of a what's available kind of guy, more than the extra pass, fit in the offense type of guy. And I know that he's got skills. I know he can shoot the ball. I know he can drive the ball. He's a good offensive player, but I just don't know if it was the right fit in Dana's system. I agree with you completely. Next year is going to be a completely different team. It's obviously still going to be Jackson and Nate if Nate comes back. And then,
KJ.
like you said, and Bam. Yeah, and KJ and Bam. I think that KJ really played well at the end of the year.
Yes.
KJ was a guy who I was fearing was going to go transfer portal at the end of this year because he just didn't feel like he was fitting in this year. But he really got his feet underneath him. He played a lot harder in the second half and really got after balls. Had some huge key rebounds, huge key defensive possessions into that season. But I still think that the battery of the team is going to be the same, and you're just going to have to fill in all the rest of those guys. You're going to need to still get a physical guard, Jermaine Kuznard, TJ Bamba, a guy that can almost play linebacker.
I think they need two. I'd like to see him get two of those sorts of
I
guys.
agree completely, but I think that's what Dana really likes right now. He likes this opportunity of being able to have that spread and kick kind of players, and then also a guy who can just go one-on-one late in the shot clock and who can just muscle up on you. It's an old school brand of basketball, and you know that Dana's an old school coach.
Yeah, Ryan Winter, Sports Chat 503. The man, the myth, the legend. Great as always. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and go Ducks.